Yeah.
Oh. All right. That's possible.
It's all right.
I don't know.
Okay, are we done over here?
I don't know.
What do we got?
Yeah.
What do we got? Come on here.
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea the answer to that. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna introduce her my way.
Come on, yeah.
Okay.
Turn around and look at the.
First off, I just want to ask you to marry me. Emily Swanson, in my eyes, has true recovery, works a true program in the sense of like doing the work. I think that there's not too many people who've like worked this hard and stayed dedicated. 5 years ago on the couch. Last time I seen her was like when she was, was it 5 years ago? 6 years ago?
6 years?
6 years ago on the couch. Scabbed out face, fucked up. Right off the streets, dude. Stuck to the couch. It was intense. And then
Tell them about her eyelashes falling off.
That was later.
Okay.
Yeah, eyelashes fell off everywhere, all over her face. She had 7 of them on her eyes. Not really knowing what's going on, but then like since then, like I was just explaining earlier to somebody, I'm like, it's really cool seeing her because she's got a partner. She's engaged. She has 2 beautiful kids, and she's bought a home.
3
and
kids.
she makes her own.
3 kids.
3 kids.
Yeah, 3 kids.
5.
Well, 3 kids. Well, 4 if you include her boyfriend.
She's raising 4 kids.
Yeah, she's raising 9 kids.
Yeah.
And then also has a sober house too. Like on top of that, and I've yet to see anybody, in my opinion, do it like that. Within that short amount of time, without anything against anybody, but without like parents' help and like without friends' help or whatever, or scamming old people, whatever. Fuck. Without doing any of that, all the hard necessary work it takes to get there, I've seen her do it firsthand, and I've yet to see anybody do it as efficient and effective as Emily Swanson has. So that's my
Well, I've had a lot of people that I consider like a daughter to me, but Emily was my first daughter in doing this, and she's one that I took on like this. Really felt like a daughter-son relationship, and a daughter-father relationship.
transgender.
Yeah. Her and I have had a lot of screaming on the phone with each other, fighting. It's been a up and down sometimes, but she always ended up listening, I think.
Takes a while.
Yeah, it takes a while.
Takes a while.
But I just wanted to say this. And this is like we've been business a long time, but we don't do enough of this, and we are going to start doing more of this. And we have a lot of stories like Emily's, but right now this is for us one of the way that it happened with her family and everything. So I'm going to start out by just Emily, you start with what was like with your family before and what happened or what that was like and what got you into this.
Hello. So I had a normal childhood. I have a great family. My mom and dad worked really hard. Raising my sister and I. Nothing too much to complain about. I do remember when I was like in my early teens, I started, I didn't really not necessarily know what suicide was. I was very naive, but I didn't want to live anymore, and I did end up trying to overdose on a bunch of medicine. And after that, that's kind of was from that point on, I don't think my brain was ever the same. I don't know, maybe it was never right. I don't know. But yeah, just like most people, I started, am I supposed to tell you
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody's already on the edge of their seat. Don't
So growing up, I was really into soccer. That was like my whole entire life. I put all of my eggs in one basket, I should say. You know, I literally thought I was going to go to college and be a professional soccer player. It's crazy, but I was not that good. But that's all I thought about. That's all I made, varsity as a freshman. My team played in Europe when I was 16 or 15. That was my life. And unfortunately, I fractured my femur my senior year. And I played on it for 4 months. I thought it was just a pulled muscle, and then because it wasn't a clean break. So unfortunately, it was like so many little hairline fractures that I had to completely be off of it for several months, and that was devastating. Like, I remember that day where, and even though I had been on my select team for years, if you don't make tryouts, you can't. It doesn't matter. You're not on the team. So I would say that ruined my life, but I could have, there was other options I could have done, but I didn't. I didn't want to go to community college and play soccer on community college. I was, so I decided to do meth. I don't even know, I didn't hang out with people. Yeah, it was so weird. I would drink and do pills or drugs in high school, but it was like, if you smoke or did this or this, you'll get kicked off the team. So it was never like, drinking was one thing, but everybody parties in high school. But then I was like hanging out with this guy who it was the weirdest thing. I was like, what is that? And then I did it, and I was hooked to meth, and I hate meth, and now I do. But anyways, so that was great. I started, once it was like within a week I was in that lifestyle, and it was like culture shock. It was crazy, and I don't think I thought I could ever go back or get out of it. And I actually don't even remember how it all happened, but I ended up, I got into Wazoo, and instead of going to Wazoo, my parents took me to Lakeside Milam in January of 04. Anyways,
Did you get a scholarship to Lakeside?
Got a scholarship,
okay.
yeah. I was making meth at that point. No, just joking. And yeah, so went to rehab. Never went back home. Never went back home. And my parents moved out of the town. Anyways, I don't know if anybody knows Fremont Hall. I got out of rehab. I was 18. I was young. I was like real young. There was a lot of old men in one guy got kicked out because of weird things he would say to me. I was so oblivious to everything. Anyways, I had a year. I eventually met someone at Fremont Hall, which is like a AA hall in Seattle on Aurora, with all the prostitutes and literally right on the greatest road. And I hung out there every day, probably. And I got pregnant and super excited, thought my life was changed. However, I really didn't do any work. And that was at the point where everyone could get a mortgage, literally anyone. I was working at a balloon store, and we got, we were able to get a loan for a home, which is crazy to me. I was 19, working at a balloon store, and my partner, and pregnant, and long story short, 6 months after my son was born, he had surgery, and I wasn't working a program. I felt very alone. I was the only one of my friends I had lost a lot of people, but they didn't want to hang out with me anymore. And so I drank his liquid Oxycontin or whatever, something. And from that point on, that was when my addiction really got bad. I was able to hide it for a while, and I was like, cannot do meth because that's crazy. So I was like, I'll do heroin. It'll be fine. And so that's what I did. We got married first before I started doing heroin, and tried to live a normal life just like my parents wanted, their daughter to have. And I really tried, and it just didn't work out. And so I started shooting heroin and cocaine. And the minute I put a needle in my arm, I was like, this is it. I'm screwed forever. I will literally die doing this. And I didn't think I could ever stop. And unfortunately, I lost my everything. My son, he was, I think, 10 or 11 months old. And that I got kicked out of my house. There was a restraining order on me. Literally, my husband gave me like a blanket and my ID, and he took my wedding ring and was like, okay, bye. And don't come back until you're sober. And, and you would think that would, like, my baby, I was a stay-at-home mom too. Like, I was just with my son. But unfortunately, the person who had been one of my best friends, he had started relapsing too. So it was just him and I relapsing with my son while my husband was at work all day. Like, not good, right? So, yeah, really bad time. Then that person's significant other of mine shot himself. And then it was like, with him, what did I call it? A trust fund baby. So it was like he was taking, he had money. So that's when I started having to do, really bad things for drugs. And it was a really bad time in my life.
What year was this?
2007. So fast forward many years, like, we all have that horrible story, but I did end up in California. I ended up pregnant, actually, and the guy, I don't know how I was in California. Oh yeah, my parents were like, okay, after Mick died, they were like, we're gonna put you in a nice rehab, right? One of those like fancy rehabs. So I went to Arizona, and then I got kicked out I was shooting up cough syrup, like literally anything. I couldn't stay sober. Like, I would be anything that I could possibly get, whatever those Coricidin pills, like we'd run away from treatment and go to Walgreens and like take all those. Just, I could not sit still in my head for 1 second at all. And I got kicked out of there, went to California, I got kicked out of a treatment center there. I don't know how many, I probably have completed like 10 treatment centers, but I've probably been to like over like 20, including psych wards, but I never stayed, the whole time. So there was kind of, I don't know, long story, I feel like this is a lot.
Yeah.
Lost a lot of people.
How was the relationship what was your parents doing every time you left treatment or whatever? What was their kind of...
After Drake was born, unfortunately, thank God, but they had to, I was no longer allowed anywhere near them. My
parents?
My parents, yeah. Or anyone in my family. And it wasn't because they didn't love me, but they were trying to have a relationship with my son. And, I'm so thankful that happened, because if they hadn't, he's almost 19, and out of his whole life, I think I've maybe been like 7 years of it, 6 years of it. You know, I was terrible. I was a horrible.
When you were communicating with your family, like you'd be out there, was it your mother that was still saying we love you, or was it your father? Where was that like? Which one was reaching out and which one was mad at you?
I mean, my dad kind of didn't really say much. He doesn't say much. But he was disappointed. My mom, though, you know, she didn't really think, it didn't, to me, it felt like she didn't think I was an actual addict or alcoholic until I started shooting up. You know, before that, she thought it was maybe a phase, or maybe I was just like going to grow out of it, because some people at my high school did do meth and like just stopped. I don't know, that's weird. But, and are totally successful, you know, they just, yeah, they did all the right things. I just went the wrong way. And so I think, you know, I don't know. I knew they still loved me, you know, of course, but I didn't want to mess with their relationship with my son, because that was literally all I had was of him, was through them.
And how would you make it on the streets when you were out there? Where would you sleep? What did it look like?
I mean, it really.
Did you have a car?
So no. Well, yeah. When Mick died, I had his car, and then, but then I ended up in treatment, so I lost. I don't know where that went. This is so long ago. I can't even like remember all that. I ended up when I went to California, I met a guy there who basically became my program. Obviously, you know, and I stayed sober for almost 2 years, and it was a really good time. And that whole time I got a good job. I started, you know, getting slowly back in my family's life, and then I moved back up here. And as soon as I moved back up here, I was using again secretly. And
when you were in the middle of this, did you have a sense that what you were doing was really wrong?
Yeah. Literally the day I put a needle in my arm, I was trying to like not do that ever again. Mm-hmm. But I just couldn't. You know.
So your son's getting older now. He's with his dad.
Mm-hmm. And I had worked my way back up. I had a house in Everett. My son, I had an apartment in Seattle. Anyways, I had him like 3 days a week, which was so awesome. You know, but it was never good enough. It was not like, you know, I felt I should. So crazy. You know, I'm like, I felt like they took him from me, and so I should. I don't know. So anyway, so of course I started getting loaded, but I was like, it's fine, because I'm gonna get high on the days I don't have him, and then the days I have him, then I won't have a habit, right? And then I was like, oh, I won't do cocaine. I'll just do meth, because I don't like meth. So, you know, mixing that with heroin, it was just better than the other. Not really, but it made me function a little better. Mm-hmm. So I was actually able to function and have a normal-ish life, which probably made my family even worse, or harder to grasp, because when they did find out, you know, obviously over time, after a couple of years, my behavior was just not right, and they figured it out. And you know, and I think that was a painful, because this whole time they were like thinking I was doing okay, and you know, I was in my son's life. But mind you, I'm like nodding out, driving with him, like late taking him to school. You know, I thought because I wasn't doing it every day, like, and I thought because I wasn't around other drug addicts, it was okay. And somehow I was a better mom. or is justified. Yeah, but then one day my son, I think he was like 8, maybe, he said he didn't want to come over to my house anymore because he didn't like me. And I think, you know, now that I have a 2.5-year-old, they're like crazy, right? So kids say some weird shit, you know, like, so he probably wasn't, but I was like devastated. I thought, and then I was like, fine. And then I didn't see him for years. I got kicked out, ended up getting kicked out. Anyways, that time I do remember more. I was definitely on the street. I had a car for a little bit. My boyfriend and I at the time, we just did whatever we could to make money. And yeah.
Where were we sleeping?
In and out of treatment. Downtown Seattle, Arlington. From Arlington, or actually Smoky Point, or I don't know. We just, whoever would let us stay, or we'd stay outside, or he had befriended a very old man who let us stay there sometimes. Motels. It was fine when I had a car because we just stayed in the car, but then I totaled it, and that. So then after that, it was just like, ugh, real bad. But I didn't consider being homeless. Like, if you lived in your car, I was like, that's not homeless. Like, I'm fine. But
You are homeless if you have a car. Yeah. Cars.
yeah, apparently you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would take the light rail back and forth. I would take the E-line, or not the, yeah, the E-line. Yeah. Back and forth. Just try to get in rehabs. Like, in the winter, it would be cold. I would try to get into treatments and then leave, or, I don't know.
Okay, so then what happened?
So then my uncle was part of Pioneer Human Services, and at this point my mom was like desperate. I had given up completely. I was like, I'm not ever gonna stay sober. I'm not gonna, you know, like, I've already completely ruined my son's life. There's no point of getting sober. Like, so I'm over it. And she kept doing all the like calls of detoxes and places and trying to like get her daughter. And then when I was in jail, she'd call the jail and be like, keep her in there, don't let her out. But they're like, it doesn't work like that, you know. And it was really hard because I'd get out of jail and I'd have nowhere to go, and I really wanted, you know, that, you know, I had already kicked, and then I was like, well, I don't want to use, but then I am outside. It's like, well, you know, that's, what else am I gonna do? And it was just the revolving door of jails and rehabs and nowhere to go. And then eventually I met this guy named Ryan Perry, and I was in his outpatient. So now I'm like in the court system and all that. So that's like a whole other story, but we don't need to go into that. So, you know, I'm mandated treatment, and I'm in Pioneer Housing at this point. And Pioneer Housing was great. They would let me stay there, you know, I don't know. They'd let you stay there, but they'd UA you, and then if you had a dirty UA, they would make you go to treatment, and then it was just so exhausting. Like, and Ryan Perry was like, hey, there's this place called Battlefield Addiction. And I was like, okay, talk to my mom. Like, I don't know what. And
she's my agent. Talk to my agent. My people call yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my
Every
mom.
time I'm gonna get loaded.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah.
He was like, you know, I don't feel like you fit in this group of people. I mean, you know, I don't know. I was literally like, it was above the homeless shelter, or like one of the shelters, like the day shelter on Rainier Avenue. So I just hang out there all day. He was like, you might like meet this guy, or I'm gonna give Heather or your mom this lady's number, And God bless Heather Grayson. She talked to my mom because they had like cut me off financially for a long time. She talked my mom. I don't know how she did it, but into paying 1 month's rent for this Battlefield place or LBH and my mom was like, okay, we'll give it a shot. And then
I'm remembering all this.
and then I got here, and at that point in time, a lot of, I don't know, I think I had like a sling on my arm, I had abscesses, I don't even remember. Oh yeah, I had, my thumb was like almost off, so it had like sewn together with like a,
I remember.
yeah. And every time I'd wake up, like, Heather would be like, oh, just give her more pills to shut, like, my mom's like, just make her stay, just lock her there, lock her in there. And I'd wake up, and then they would give me some food, and then make me take more pills, and then I'd pass back out. And then that happened for a couple, I don't even know. It was like a days. Finally, they thought I was okay, and one day, I spit out the Suboxone, and one of the girls told on me, and then I was like, and then I left. And I'm literally running down, all these girls are chasing me. When people would like chase each other, like, come back, yeah.
That used to happen, guys.
Yeah, it used to literally happen. I got in someone's car, some guy, like the worst guy ever, because he was pulling a trailer, so he was going like 2 miles an hour up the hill. So all the girls were literally sitting right next to him, like, don't let her out! Don't let her out of your car! She's a heroin addict! She's gonna die! And I was like, can I use your phone? And I got, yeah, I don't even know what happened. I ended up escaping, and then I come back. I remember this vividly. I come back. I'm like, I can't tell you what I was wearing. I was wearing cowboy boots. That's all I do remember, and some weird ass outfit with blood all over me. And
Yeah, I remember this.
I remember the cowboy boots.
She had
Yeah.
cowboy boots, like Daisy Dukes.
Yeah, always.
A short
She had
shirt.
a Slurpee straw holding her arm.
that was the
Yeah.
first time. That was yeah.
Weird.
Oh yeah. And I don't know, because my mom was like, go back there. And I was like, they're not gonna let me back? Like, what are you talking about? They're not gonna let me back. And then they let me back, and it was weird. I was like, this place is crazy. And they're not gonna charge extra money? Like, okay, I guess I'll stay. And then I think it happened again, and then you guys were like, you gotta go to rehab. And then I went to rehab and got out.
That's pretty bad when a rehab's telling you gotta go to rehab.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
Like, I know you're in rehab, but you gotta go to rehab.
Yeah, so I went to like PCN for probably the 5th or 6th time. I don't know, but my allotted rehab days were out, so I could only stay 19 days, I think. Because you only get so many through the state, and came back, and it was crazy. I don't remember hearing you talk before any of that. Like, I don't remember. I just remember, Art. Art, this guy.
Now she's in my seat.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know, this guy seems weird, but I guess he's gonna let me stay. Like, that's cool. And then Dave was there, and a couple other guys that really helped me, and Heather, of course, and Kayla, and basically they were like, they told me, what helped them was to work with you, work in recovery. And I was like, that's probably, and I just started, working for free for a while, but like just doing, I don't know, taking people to meetings, I don't even know what I was doing. I thought I was important, but I wasn't. I wasn't important at all. But it was helping me stay sober, you know, like, and me just. And then I felt like I had. I don't even know, like, what happened after that. I started working for you.
What was different about like the 30 times before that, and then you evolving into that, like?
So.
What did you want? What is it?
Honestly, I don't know what was different this time. What I had, I think I had 60 or 90 days sober, and my parents were like, you know, I think the fact that Angie and Art had calmed my mom's anxiety, and you know, because what I remember, I was in a room with you guys, and then I took off another time, right? And started running down the road, and my mom was like, "Give me the cell phone," and you're like, "Let her go," and the way they help my family, just, you know, it's not like they didn't understand. People understand addiction, but like when you're going through it, you don't, you know, it's hard, obviously. And I can't even imagine as a parent, you know, you want what's best for your kids. And so I just had already thought like I was never going to see Drake again. Because that was like always like, well, I got to get sober for Drake. I got to get sober. Maybe I can get my house back. I can whatever. And that was all out the door. And then one day we were at Solution Group. And I had been like, you know, working a little bit here and there and feeling pretty good about myself and, you know, not thinking about using. And I found out my mom had cancer. And we were in the parking lot at the old treatment center. And then I was like, okay, whatever, everyone has cancer, it's fine.
Everyone has kids.
I mean, right? Like, so many people have cancer. You don't think it's going to be terminal. And then I think Heather and Kayla, I think you guys all knew it was terminal before I did, because everyone was scared to tell me, because they, you know, they thought I was going to run away. You know, and I think that at that point forward, she was given like 6 months to live, and I was like, my mom, I mean, this is the last thing I could possibly do to show her, like, I want her to see me succeed, you know. And I don't know if I was thinking that at the time, but I was just like, I don't want, you know, I want to, if I was loaded, I wouldn't see my mom, and, you know, at least, yeah, I don't know. So I think that was like the best I had ever done ever. And, you know, I probably should have spent more time with her, and I didn't. And probably should have worked a program better, because when she died, I relapsed right away. And, oh, mind you, when did I meet Nathan? Oh, yeah. I met Nathan right before, a couple months before my mom died. I had a choice between Brad and Nathan, so I...
She made the right choice. No, you had a few choices.
I did,
Yeah,
I
she had
did.
several.
like
She had a lot of
7.
choices.
Yeah, she had
Okay,
all
but,
the choices.
you
She could
know,
have picked any of these.
Yeah.
and Nathan...
She made the right move.
I made the right move, and I'll tell you, like, I love Nathan, but listen, and one of the reasons, because he had relapse too, but he did meth, and I was like, ugh, I will never use drugs with you. That's terrible. I knew with Brad, we'd be using in 5 seconds. Like, there's no way. You know, like anyone else I could get loaded, make them get loaded with me, or, you know, talk them into it, or whatever. But with him, I was like, I don't want to use with this guy.
So the fact that you were considering Brad. No, no, just wait. Just hear me out. It says in the second step, it says we came to believe a power greater than ourselves would restore us to sanity. Mm-hmm. So that must have been before your second step. You see what I'm saying? Because at one point, the consideration of dating Brad, you were clearly insane.
I don't think I was ever considering
Yeah.
dating Brad. There was
she's
another
very
person.
considerate.
Okay, good.
But
You just knew
we
she
hung
had him
out.
on the back burner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had hung out, and
I threw up
Yeah.
He was an option.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have if I wanted
She could have
to.
dated anybody. Yeah. She could have whatever she wanted.
So let's get a little. You lose your mom.
I lose my mom. Yeah.
You're now with Nathan when you lost your mom. Mm-hmm. You've relapsed a bit with Nathan.
Yeah.
I remember kind
And
of.
my dad shows up to the big house.
Wait, did you use with Nathan?
No.
Yeah, no. They
Nathan-
relapsed a little bit at separate times.
Separate times,
Yeah.
separate drugs.
Yeah.
I think we'll be together forever.
Right. Yeah.
No, I don't know, I ran away. I think I had no shoes on at one point. I was running and someone saw me. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then Nathan came and found me. I was downtown Seattle on Pike. And he said he scraped me off the floor. I don't know. That was... No, he did. And then he came and that was my mom's like funeral. Maybe. I don't know. It was a really bad several months. But what I learned in that period is like, okay, I had built so much community and so much, recovery in that time before my mom died that when I did go back out, I didn't have to destroy everything. Like I had somewhere to come back to, and I had people that wanted me around. And I honestly, I don't know how I've stayed sober. I mean, I even got off Suboxone like after a few months. I think, my mom is now living inside of me and made it a lot easier. That's the only thing I can think of the first 6 months. Like, I don't know. But I did know I needed to work in recovery forever because that's the only time I'd ever been able to live normal is being in.
There's a lot about Emily that, I see in people these days. I see a lot of people that get in recovery and then they want to be someone, or they have this urgency about them to, like a restlessness and an irritability and a discontent. But Emily didn't have that restless irritability really, but she did want to be someone. And, the conversations that her and I used to have, remember I used to always tell you, no one's going to stop you from being Emily. And that was always what I try to get across to people now. There was always this thing, I had that same thing. I had this restless drive and it's great for potential and it's great, but she balanced pretty good that restlessness with success. And that's what you got to do. Like, she took the hits when it didn't go her way and balanced that. And the thing about her was she had this tremendous drive, and drive I see in a lot of people to this day. But also there was this real thing about, okay, well, you got to stay sober and I got to do this also piece by piece. Mm-hmm. And so you go on to, what was the first things that now, by the way, she works at Bigfoot Java at this time and works for me at the same time. Mm-hmm. And
oh yeah, you made me make a choice.
yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Smart.
you were like, you either work for me or work for Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was when he wanted you all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, we're
Because I was like working,
Yeah.
because that's all, keeping my mind busy, like anything to help me not think of drugs. I still think of drugs. I don't know if that'll ever go
But
away.
you kept working for Bigfoot.
Yeah, I
you
took a
listen.
management position at Bigfoot
Oh, yeah.
and I quit
You did?
you. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, I can't believe you're here right
Yeah,
now.
I know, right? I helped, I think, once a week or something.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So she left me and abandoned me. And,
Yeah.
Couldn't get rid of me. And,
But this girl's working for Bigfoot Java, and then you find out, like, and Emily's the type of person that, she's working for Bigfoot Java. She's got like 15 grand in the bank, and she's the one that'll say, I just can't, I'm broke. I just can't, I'm broke.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
broke.
but that,
I'm
I
broke."
never had
Yeah.
any money. And so when I worked with you, and I didn't literally do anything but work and save money. And then I got a job at Bigfoot and I saved money, and I never had that much money in my bank account. And I remember, oh yeah, because you guys took all my money, their cards, when I relapsed in between, and I couldn't even get into the money because it was like a net spend card. So you can only take out so much at a time, but I couldn't have a bank account. Like, I don't even know. It took me like a year to clear that card. get 300 a week or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, I had all this money and I was like, I'm so scared I'm going to be homeless. I at least want like a good fund, you know, just in case. I'm always thinking just in case. And why did we start talking about that?
Well, we're moving on to you get a sober living.
Oh yeah, 'cause then I was like, Art, I remember I came to your kitchen and you were sitting in your chair and I was like, listen, I need my own sober living because I will never be able to live alone. I have proven to myself that I can not be trusted alone ever. So I might as well start my own, you know, house where I have people around me all the time. And I was like, but I only have the money. I have a zero credit and I have a background that's not good. And so would you co-sign for me? And I think I don't know if multiple people had come to you at that point, but you're like, yeah, like didn't think I was going to or something.
I told you if you got it done.
Yeah, if you got it done. And I was like, what? That's like, that blew my mind. And I got it done. I found this.
Well, that's the thing. There was a lot of people that would come to me and ask things like that.
Yeah.
And then I would just test the character, you know, because that's to me what it is character is sticking with the decision long after the validation of that decision or the emotion warrants it. So a lot of people would tell me, you know, I used to see people post on Facebook that they were gonna get their masters. I'm going back to school to get my master's. And there would be this flood of validation. That's amazing. I can't believe you're doing that. That's awesome. And to me, it was like the person actually did it. But they didn't do it. You know? But everybody acted like they did it. So then I saw the person just never go do that. Like I post on Facebook and so a lot of people would come to me and say, I'm going to be a counselor. I'm going to start my own treatment center. I'm going to start my own sober living. And I would just say, okay, go do it. And if you need help after you've done these steps, then I'll help you. And Emily did, you know.
Yeah, this crazy couple. I word vomited my entire life story probably to her, which I overshare too much. I'm actually way better now, but and I was like, listen, I have a cosigner, I have cash, I need a home, like I want to start a sober living. And so then we set up an appointment and you guys didn't like each other, I think. Anyways, and I was like, please just let me do
I
this.
thought they were taking advantage of her.
Yeah.
I said, let's walk.
Yeah.
She didn't
And I was
want
like, no, we're doing it. Anyways, and it was hard. It was really hard. It didn't work out the way I thought it was going to. It was really hard to get people to come there. I had like random people from Craigslist at first, like just paying the rent. And, you know, eventually Scott Hankermeyer. You sent me Scott Hankermeyer. He basically was like him and Yuri and James. Yeah. Those were the guys that were there forever. They were originally. And yeah, so that's all I thought I was ever going to do with my life. And I was okay with that. I didn't think, you know, and meanwhile Nathan wants kids and I'm like, that's crazy. I'm never having kids, or I could never have a kid. Like I'll immediately mess it up again, and I don't want to screw another innocent child's life up. You know, like I did with Drake, and you know, eventually we decided to have a kid, and things started working out, and you know, but even the first time after I had Bjorn, I had an appointment set up right after my surgery because I had a C-section, and for the Vivitrol shot because I was so scared. Like I did not want to get high again. But like my past kept repeating itself, so I just assumed, you know. And then that's like I really started living since then. Like, you know, I started doing things I never thought in my wildest dreams, and people would say that in meetings, and I was like, you guys are literally liars. But now I feel that way, and I think it took, and I say this like I used to say this to Jordan all the time, like, dude, just give yourself a couple years sober or like to get your head, because even with 5 years, like my head's still not, we put drugs in our body for so long, like it takes a long time to, if ever, you know, I had a lot of trauma, mostly from my use, you know, just like anyone who does drugs. And that's hard. I still have nightmares like almost every night. Like it just doesn't, I don't know if it goes away. I've worked the steps, like I'm in AA, I'm in recovery, Battlefield, you know, I have the sober living. I anything to help me, you know, be, if I'm not doing something that's furthering me, whether that's spiritually or mentally or now with work or just education, then I don't want to do it. You know, I don't want to hang out with people anymore that aren't wanting to go higher in life. And I think that's really, but I didn't start thinking like that for several.
So she's
several
went on
years.
to get real estate license?
Yeah, so then there's this kid, Billy Braun, he showed up at Bigfoot, Java, and he had this nice truck, and I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm a real estate agent. I was like, what? You're a real estate agent? I was like, maybe I could be one. Like, he's like, yeah, you could.
You could.
I was like, well, yeah, you know what I mean? I was like, what? Okay. But then that got me thinking, and I was like, okay. And then the owner of the house, the Sober Living, she is a real estate agent. She was like, yeah, get your license. And then I don't know, I didn't think I'd ever actually like pass the exam and get my license, because I had a record, and it used to be 10 years before you could like get a license in Washington State. And they changed it to 5 years because it had been, well, no, it had probably been like 7 years at that. I don't know. The dates are all screwed up, but it was less than 10 years. And so I was like, and my friend Hannah, and she really was a huge catalyst. And she's like, dude, you can get it. All these people, like, you can easily get your license and do something with your life. I was like, and not saying that Bigfoot or making coffee was like bad. I loved it. I still love making coffee, but I honestly thought that's all I could do. I thought that was like my life. I mean, I literally go around to coffee stands trying to buy them. Like, I'm going to have to do this forever, so I might as well get my own. Like, I didn't think I had any other path. I did try to do, I tried to work at your treatment center.
Oh yeah, we got your counselor.
Yeah, I got my license, my counseling license, and I was like, this is crazy. Oh, the legality and all the paperwork, I was like, I can't do this. This is not, I'd rather help someone, like, and then you can't even refer. Like, if I was a counselor, I wouldn't be able to refer someone to my house, and I'm like, well, that's crazy. Like, you have to, like, not talk to them for 2 years, so I was like, this just doesn't work for me and my sober life and trajectory of where I want, you know, my sober living to go. And so I stopped that, and yeah, Hannah was back here working at Tribeca, and she really coached me a lot. Like, just get your license. It's fine. You'll be fine. And I just did, and that's crazy to me still. And now I love it. It's so great. I think real estate is so great for people, a lot of recovering, you know, addicts, alcoholics, addiction, people, you know, people with vices, you know, they succeed in real estate. You know, a lot of my coaches that I've paid for, like, were, oh, that's my real estate alarm. To plan my day tomorrow. Isn't that crazy? Like, it's so crazy. My life it's just so weird. Like,
Emily, you're talking to people.
I know, I'm trying to turn my alarm off. I don't know how to do it, but
Kids these days.
yeah, it's a trip.
Were you
Don't
ever
give up.
close?
So we're gonna open it up now to questions after this.
Okay, yeah. were you ever close to relapse? I mean, because you also had another baby. Like after Bjorn was born, was there any other? It was like, have you ever been close, or have you just been like, I know I'm done?
Not
or what?
since, not since the. Well, I have been on mental health medication for I don't know, 25 years. I'm not quite sure, but a long time. And you know, when I first got here, I was really. I looked like a tweaker because my jaw would be like this because I was on
We
so
all
much.
remember.
I was on so much medication for so long, and especially antipsychotics. Like I think it was like 10 years straight. I don't even know. But then when I took the drugs out of my system, like my body was like, whoa, like the actual drugs, not the psych meds. So I was just on the psych meds, and my body's like, whoa, what's happening? And so like I looked. People thought I was high all the time. It was so embarrassing. So getting off that was but that was before Bjorn. I definitely almost relapsed after getting off my antipsychotic. That was literally horrible, worse than Suboxone, I think.
Yeah.
The way I did it, at least, I did not do it properly. So yeah, COVID. I mean, after Bjorn, my life kind of changed, and I realized like, hey, wow, I can actually live. You know, people would say you can start over anytime you're, you know, and then when I got pregnant and they called it a geriatric pregnancy, I was like, what? I was like, isn't that like 60? And they're like, you are. Oh, it said AMA pregnancy, and I was like, AMA. All I know AMA is against medical advice. I was like, why did it say AMA in my chart? She's like, advanced maternal age, and I was like, what? I was like, okay. Yeah, so I guess I'm old having babies. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, since then things have. Yeah, of course, I still think about drugs. Like, I don't like being around. Like, even just it's hard. I don't know, I was talking to Dave, like if I don't really like drinking, but like if I'm around people that are constantly consuming something, like I want to do it. I mean, I love drugs. Like I love the way they make me feel. They don't work anymore, and they haven't for quite some time, and they destroy my life, but I still want that rush, that initial rush, and fix, and you know, but it'll never be the same. It'll never be like the first time 20 years ago, you know, it'll never be like that. So, yeah, I try to pick who I hang out with wisely. You know, even when I go to the sober living, like, I don't live there anymore. I'm not consumed, with it. You know, I've taken a step out, and my life has I've done things in my life that I haven't ever thought I'd be able to do, you know, so I don't want to, I don't know.
Questions for Emily?
Oh,
Dave.
God.
I've got a statement. I brought jeans for you today because out of respect. Here's the deal. What I love about you most is what you're kind of bullshitting us about tonight, and that's like you being humble and respectful no matter what part of your journey, right?
Yeah.
And most people like over-exaggerate their story, and you are totally under-exaggerating your story.
Yeah.
You've come from here to here, and I think you're doing 10 times better than you're willing to let us know. And I just love you. I'm glad to see you do as well.
Thank you.
I think why she's got the attention of the people that are back here and some of the old timers that have been around is that exactly what Dave said. You know, when she says she moved her jaw around and went like this, I mean, it was a lot. And Emily was skittish and you
Like
could
90
tell,
pounds? I don't
yeah,
know.
you could tell she's been through trauma. You could tell everything, and you know, even now, her ability to sit here tonight, her ability to, with clarity that she has, she never had that kind of clarity. It was, Emily was like 10 moves around the room before I could get her to like just sit.
Smoking.
Yeah.
Vaping, smoking,
Yeah,
vaping.
yeah. And so to watch the progression of not just her circumstances, but to watch the mental health progression, to watch the stability develop, you know, to watch the relationship with your father and your sisters or your sister. And that was, you know, not good when this was all
Right.
going down. So a lot of the people like Tyler or Dave or Matt, the people that have been around Wash, we're watching greatness. I mean, we're watching something really great that people appreciate. So, any other questions for him?
I have one. My son is an addict, and right now, he's 2 weeks sober. Can you believe that? When I saw you last time, so he's in rehab right now. But you said that you're always you still think about drugs, right? Do you think some people would stop at that point thinking about drugs? Do you think it's just the way you're made up?
No.
I think people are lying when they say they do. I mean, maybe they do, you know. Maybe they're on enough medication to not think about, like Vivitrol really helped me not think about drugs.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what he.
yeah, and that I wish I would have stayed on Vivitrol forever. Like,
Okay.
if I hadn't gotten off that, I probably wouldn't have relapsed when my mom died.
Okay.
And then, you know, once you're on it, like you literally have to plan to get off of it to, you know, so just get on it forever, I guess. I don't know.
I never thought about that because that would help.
Yeah, like it helped with
Oh,
crazy cravings. Like it doesn't help. Like of course, the act of using
Right.
I mean, just
Yeah.
I've never met someone who can honestly say they don't think about. It's just a fleeting thought. You know, it's a fleeting thought. It doesn't stay. I don't obsess. If I start obsessing about about drugs, that's a level that I can't go to
So
anymore.
it's almost like there's a craving that Suboxone helps, but then there's still that in your mind, the craving's gone, but in your mind, you still think about how you felt.
So not Suboxone, Vivitrol.
Yeah, that's what he.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but do you still, when you're on that, think about, wow, I wish I could feel that again, even though you're on Vivitrol? Like, is there a difference in craving and then still wanting to know what that felt like before? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For so many years, I had cravings. I don't really have cravings like that stick around.
Right.
It's just everything's just okay. Like,
Okay, that
I'll
makes sense.
disagree a little bit in my own perspective,
Yeah.
and I'll challenge it because at some point, the insanity that we have in addiction is that we have an obsession to use drugs. In my opinion, that for me was lifted, and I can honestly say I don't think about it. I don't think about it. I don't crave it. I don't, and in fact, I'm almost repelled by it.
Okay.
I can't really to this day understand why people want to lose control. Whereas, just like my wife, Angie, she's never done drugs because she doesn't want to feel herself out of control. And I've heard several people say a lot of people don't want to feel that loss of control. That's how I feel now.
Yeah.
I've stabilized. I've lost the obsession. I don't for 1 second think about drugs, and that's me. But I
Yeah, that
mean, I
makes
guess
sense.
everyone's different. But I look at like crack or any heroin, the drugs I used to love, and I go, oh wow, I see why I liked it then. I see what it did for me then, but life does that for me now, and I don't need that. Come on.
So we met her a long time ago. I think I even remember the cast, to be honest with you. Involved.
I don't even know what it was. It was some sort of
My
contraption.
question to you is, well, on top of that, she's probably the nicest addict I think I've ever met. Back then, she was so nice to us, she'd talk to us.
She wasn't that nice, but
My
Well,
question to you is, now that you've achieved this level, which I know it's going to be a never-ending journey in this, of your short life choices, but do you find more addicts talk to you now and seek your guidance and respect your opinions as far as, somebody that's been there but has achieved something with it?
When they're ready to actually stop. I have a lot of people come up to me like, oh, Just like Art used to say, is like, show me that you actually want, you know, I will literally bend over backwards for someone if they, I guess it just depends on the situation, you
Do you
know.
feel like they get mad at you like a parent almost because you see the bullshit?
Yeah, I mean, I had to, well, like with Jordan, for instance, I had to have Nathan step in because I would just keep letting Jordan and Adam come back to my house. Like, I could not, because I just loved them so much. I couldn't, you know, and so I guess it depends on the person. Like, and I think it's because I saw a lot of myself in Jordan. You know, it's like, dude, come on, you have so much you could give. Like, just stop. You know, so, and I didn't want to happen what did happen with him, obviously, but you can't force someone to be sober or want to be sober.
Emily, you talked about a lot of the treatment centers that you got yourself into and then ran away, or it sounded like, even from experience as a parent, that you found a way to manipulate your way through them all and stuff like that. What, in your mind, and my children were great manipulators too, but what would you say are the things in any treatment center that you were actually in that might have offered you that other option to really help yourself if they had something besides you trying to manipulate them? Can you think of any of them? Because I see people going in and out of all these treatment centers, and here we are in 2024, and we're still seeing the same battle of, you know, people just getting in treatment, but I don't even know if I can call it treatment anymore because I just see the revolving door, and it's like, is it really treatment, or is it just your hotel or your little overnight place to get in there for the winter, whenever? I want to know, what would you tell people that a treatment center should really offer, or maybe somebody else, to really help you guys want to, besides the fact that if your mind is messed up, or are you just so addicted to the drug that the treatment isn't really what you're looking for, but just that get out of the winter stage?
That's a tough question, but like, I don't know, because all treatments I've been to, I know, like, even if I wasn't like actively learning or caring, I still learned something. Like, there was, you know, and you don't, they're all kind of the same once you go to one. They're, for the most part, not all of them. Some are weirder than others. But I'm talking about state-funded treatment centers. Like,
Oh,
so,
I am too,
yeah.
because honestly, it took me years to think I ever had the money to, you know, or my kid was ever gonna have the money to pay his way through. Like, I always thought like people were supposed to save for college, not for addiction college,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I know.
That wasn't my intention.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard because you can't force someone. I mean, I guess the last time when I did come back to the house, like, I had Shelly and I had people that I had worked with, like Travis and Mike P, and like, they really didn't let me leave, you know, ever, for a few weeks. They really, and that's what I needed. And I think nowadays I feel like it's even worse than how it was for me back a few years ago, because it was there's a disconnect between treatment and the next steps of treatment, you know. And I think everyone should be getting the Vivitrol shot when they're in jail. Like, fuck Suboxone. I mean, Suboxone's great for, you know, but I think it took, if my mom was not around, I would have never gotten on the Vivitrol shot. They made it so hard, like, so hard. It was crazy. Like, what? And now, you know, now I don't even know if they do that anymore. I mean, are they giving, it's like the sub yeah.
So I used to work at a methadone clinic, which offered Suboxone and Vivitrol. And I would always recommend Vivitrol to everybody who came in because I knew it worked.
Yeah.
So it was expensive though, so it's kind
Well,
of
no,
a hard thing.
the problem with the Vivitrol is like you have to be sober, and I could never string 12 hours together, you know, like, or 2 days or however, you need like 2 weeks, I think, or
Yeah,
something.
2 weeks, and then
Yeah.
you have to pee a clean stream. It's a mess.
So
but-
it's really hard. That's why, like, if you're in rehab, if you're in jail, you should be required to get on the Vivitrol shot before. Suboxone's easier because it's like you can just do it, you know, and
It's
that's
cheaper.
also saved my life. Like, you know, I've been on Suboxone on and off for years, and that this last time I was on it because I couldn't get sober to get Vivitrol. I just stayed on Suboxone. You know, but then you get stuck on Suboxone, and it's so hard to get off Suboxone, and it's like a rat race. But
I want to just because one of the culture changes that's happened in our culture, and one of the things we're working on now with at a meeting today in Seattle with Amy Smith, and she's part of the CARES team in Seattle, and they're putting together, and they're an outreach place, and I had a discussion about the culture, and I want to tell you back in the day when you got sober, the onus was on you. We never blamed the treatment process. We never talked about inefficient systems. It wasn't even a thing. It was like sobriety was about simple. It was simple. You hit bottom, you get ready for help, you do the work. It was individual responsibility. And I talked to her about what I said was, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, which means I told her, she was talking to me, who's a recovering addict, and she was telling me how we need to help addicts, and she was telling me what we needed to do for them. And I said, what if we just did this? What if we just took care of our city? What if we just took our city like it was a house? Would any of you let people do fentanyl in your house or drugs in your house? No. So you wouldn't do that. So what you do is you get this person that's using drugs out of your house. When you get them out of the house, there begins to be some deterrent, some consequences because it's cold out there. And then all of a sudden, you've helped your house first, which will in turn help an addict. See, if we help the city first, and we like hold people to a standard of you can't do that here, and we create a culture that you can't do that here, it'll improve the system. The problem with the system is not the system. It's always been there. There's always been state-funded treatment. There's always been AA. There's always been NA. Now we have a particular style of drug addict, just so you know. We have a drug addict that is responsible for nothing. Really, and I'm not talking to everyone. I'm saying we're taking individual responsibility out of this and saying, by the way, your addiction is not your fault. By the way, you have a substance use disorder. By the way, you're empowered to do that here. It's okay to do that. Your behavior is not bad or wrong in any sense of the word. And basically, we've created a not your fault culture. When I asked Emily earlier, I said, did you feel what you were doing is wrong? Yes. So eventually that's going to catch up to her. Eventually that knowing that what I'm doing is wrong will catch up to you. But we've went the opposite way, which has made treatment way harder. Because somebody now goes to treatment and they're waiting for something. They're waiting for somebody to do something for them. The system, has any one of you ever got sober? Do you ever hear, you didn't hear from Emily, like, she didn't say, the system got me sober. How many people have you ever heard tell their story and say the system got them sober?
None.
None. But we think, and we keep doing this, that we're going to get the system better and that's going to get people sober. No, it's not. The easier you create this system, the more you create these resources, the more you do this, the worse it's get. I asked Amy Smith, who's a big, works for the county, works for Seattle, the city, and I said, what if we just stopped helping? Wouldn't that be better than where we are? You see, wouldn't people then, if they weren't being helped so much, maybe want some help? And so, so part of the deal here is that, and maybe this isn't the exact things for Emily, but But again, when was Emily ready for help? I didn't do it. I ain't some damn like wizard that got her ready. When the pupil is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
So she could go on to treatment 41 times, but yet she still knew that she could go out on the street and it was easy. Where did she go when she relapsed? Third and Pike?
Which time, yeah.
You said Third and
Yeah,
Pike.
Third and Pike.
Third and Pike. Why?
But it's so different now though, because even back then, like, which is not even that long ago, but it is like a few years, 5-6 years. People have no shame and guilt anymore.
That's why
They literally just. I mean, at least we'd be trying to hide behind, like, in an alley or something. You know, people would be dealing drugs on Third and Pike,
Yeah.
but not just like. I mean, there's an issue with the fentanyl. Like, people, they're nodding out to the point where, like, they're like 80-year-old men and women. Like, they're not ever going to be able to
They're
go back
folded up like a
straight.
lawn chair.
They will not be able to go back straight, and I'm not like that's That's literally what. So then at that point, it's like, well, why stay sober? I'm literally.
There becomes a.
It's crazy.
There becomes a way that for most people, it just seems, I would rather that people were mad at the drug addicts down in Seattle. I would rather take that anger side. I think it would be more helpful than this protectionism that we have. We have this kind of civil rights protectionism for drug addicts, and I think mad is the appropriate response. When a human being, a loved one, is hurting themselves, why is love the appropriate response? I don't really think that that's a very appropriate response to, I think, anger, frustration, hatred, maddening, annoy, everything is an appropriate response to our loved ones doing a drug that could kill them that day. If any of you are out here and you were doing fentanyl, you didn't need treatment later. You needed it that moment. And if your family was actually mad at you, thank God. Thank God, because you were doing something that would kill you. And people are angry at that. And now we're putting so much onus on this broke system. We don't even get people to the broke system. I told Amy Smith today, she goes, well, the problem is we don't have enough resources. I said, I've been hearing that for 10 years.
There's tons of.
I've been hearing that for 10 years. I said, Andrea, how many people you put in treatment? She was right at the table. She said, well, the last 3 months I put 20 people into treatment. I said, did you ever have trouble finding resources? No. But see, what our county does is they contract with only certain places. And they contract with those places because they want to get the data for those places. So they don't look at all the resources. They contract with one, so when they call our King County Detox and King County Detox says we're full, that's the end of the game. They let the person go and they say we don't have any resources. So this whole thing about revolving treatment, that didn't, this new identity of people that went to treatment 20 times, that's new.
Yeah, that was not a thing.
That wasn't a thing. Counting treatment. If you ask these kids how many that wasn't a thing. Counting up treatment to tell people how many treatments I went to. That wasn't a thing. Because, see, what happened in your second treatment, your third treatment, the only people that went to treatment 20 times were like movie stars. Movie stars and singers. They went 20 times because that was their summer vacation.
It was like vacation.
Yeah. Because they had so many resources that they go out of treatment, they get all the resources to get their life back together, then they break it down and they go back to treatment for a break. The problem with people going to treatment that many times now is how come they have so many resources still? How is that still possible? How have they not burned all these bridges? But once again, someone's always there to coddle and save. And it's a fact. It's in our current condition, it's too many resources. Not too little from what I'm seeing. I challenged Amy Smith. I said, you got a care team? You got a lot of people on your team? I said, you do this to me. You take your team out. You go to these streets. You get me one person that wants to come to treatment with me. I'll give them free treatment and I'll give you 10 grand. Give you 2 days. She ain't going to do it. They ain't going to find someone to come to treatment with me. They're not. There's boom boxes on the streets of Seattle. They're playing music. They're a community. It's a culture. And although it's a shitty culture, and although I know they're not having fun, it's comfortable. It's safe for them. They don't have to do anything to get out of it. And it's dangerous. And so, it's a lot different climate. And I'll say that, one of the things that helped Emily was being able to go and come back. That was something. Because guess what? We got tired of her game and she got tired of ours.
Well, the fact that they let me back, most treatment, they're like, you're cut off for life, by my behavior, just not that they don't do that to everyone, but I did not, I wasn't welcome in a lot of them based on, I'd bring drugs or I'd be doing, whatever. And, so, when I say treatment, I was only there a couple days or, but
For me, I just want to point out with that, and I want to make my point. The point is, stay mad at the addict. It's okay. Because guess what? They're the ones that are going to have to get themselves out of this. And if you get mad at the system, you're going to give the addict more excuses. You're going to get the addict more excuses to behave the way they're going to behave. And so if you stay focused on the responsibility of that addict, and you stay focused on how it is that they're continuing to get high, and then you cut those resources. And you say, hey, he can get high because he steals, because he does this, but there's no reason for us to be mad at the system. There's no reason to blame the treatment centers. The treatment centers are the treatment centers. What do? They feed people, they house people, they bring them in and try to teach them something. They don't do anything wrong. Like, they're treatment centers. So you go and you lay down and you get your brain to heal for 30 days, maybe 60 days. That's what their job is. It's treatment. Their job isn't to fix the person. They can't. That's called individual responsibility, and that happens when somebody else, like Emily, what happened was she took responsibility for her life at some point. At some point, she stopped blaming everyone.
I stopped being the victim.
Stop being a victim. That's right.
I mean, yeah, I even was like, oh, Drake's dad is so horribly well. Let me see. I'm like, well, yeah, because you were horrible, and you were on drugs. Like, that's
Do you know that's
normal.
the difference right now? That's the difference. I always tell the kids here. I said, can you imagine? And that's what I told Amy today. I said, can you imagine? We're sitting in a room, all the crimes we've perpetrated, all the people we've hurt, and all of you know that you did it. And then can you imagine outside was all the people that we affected from our addictions? Emily's family, her kid, her baby's dad, everyone out there was out there like, damn, she really screwed the jobs, the landlord she screwed over, the cops that had to arrest her, the people she hurt. And Emily's inside with me, and we're talking about how she got screwed. And I always picture this. All of your families, we're all in group inside, and all of your families are outside, like, what's going on in there? And then we got a bunch of addicts inside the room going, my parents caused this.
But
I wouldn't be here. I wasn't treated fairly, and my landlord kicked me out because I didn't pay. And
but
that kind of
it's so
shit.
hard to get to a point where you're like, realize that.
And that's
You know
what
I mean?
happened, though.
You have to work a program.
Yeah.
You have to like literally diligently try to change your life. Work the steps, do whatever you can, whatever program you use. Like, you can't just sit around for 60 days expecting that your brain to change your thinking or
That was
whatever.
good, because when you said that, the treatment, that's really not the solution, is what you do outside of it. It's like I'm nursing, somebody comes in with lung cancer or emphysema, and you get your treatment there, they're not gonna go home with you and make sure. So that
Yeah.
makes sense, you
That's
gotta
right.
take care
Yeah.
of,
Well,
You
and
have
now
to.
see how she can tell her story? And I hope all of you listen to this. So if you're in a position in your life right now where somehow you're the innocent and you're being wrongfully treated by the world, and just know that there's no way out of that. Just know that if that's your thinking right now, that you're the innocent, that you haven't done nothing wrong and life keeps screwing you over, please understand there's just no way out of that. And one day you're going to get older and you're going to look back and you're going to go, wow, I was actually crazy.
Yeah.
And the people that weren't doing drugs actually we're not we're okay. And if that doesn't happen to you, then you haven't recovered, truly. And until she got to a point where she can look back and go, see, I asked her to tell her story night, and she goes, how do I tell it? And I said, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to say, this is how you were, this is what happened, and this is what you're like now. And I think that that's kind of missing in a lot of people's story. And then you're trying to throw that over the top of maybe being sober, but it's not really true. If you can't explain the difference between what you were like and what you're like now, then you're still like that. That's a problem, you see? And she can identify what she was like and what she's like now. So if you could say things like, I was a terror to deal with, I hurt my family, I kept them up worrying, I lied, I cheated, I manipulated. She said, I manipulated the treatment center. Obviously. But we have people that still won't believe that they did that the treatment center somehow wronged them. We just passed a bill in Washington State because this guy, Ricky, who they made Ricky's Law out of, got kicked out of treatment a lot. And so they passed a bill that said every treatment provider now has to do more paperwork and explain to our government why they kicked somebody out of treatment. And the reason they had to do that is because poor Ricky got kicked out for, I believe they said, he just got kicked out for using someone else's shampoo. And I go, well, that's what he told you.
Right.
I mean, that's what he
There's
told
always
you.
more.
You know, of course we can blame the treatment center, but I bet it wasn't somebody's shampoo. And you all know you've had these kids in your home, in your life, and you've had them. Did they tell the truth about what was going on in your house? You see? And then we just take their word. And that's the problem, is now we're passing more paperwork. And guys, this is about you. This is about a woman here that is 100% responsible for her own life. That's why she's a success. There's nothing else. She doesn't blame anyone anymore. She doesn't victimize herself. She stood up and she says every day, this is what I need to do next. And then she said, I hang out with people that are going somewhere. That's who I hang with. And if you're looking around and you don't find anyone around you that's going somewhere, well, you're probably not going anywhere either. And that's the thing, is all the system, all that shit, oh, there it was. She still wanted to use.
And it's not like I hang out with a lot of people. Most of these people are like webinars and stuff. What?
I have one more question for you. Because I was taught at my last job that the only reason people use drugs is because there's a lack of affordable housing. Can you explain that to me? Is that why you use?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Well, no, it's because, no, Dave, it's because they didn't get to play soccer.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah,
You hear my
he
call?
gets
I just did
that.
a beautiful callback and you didn't even honor it, dude.
Yeah.
I've moved past that. I'm not funny anymore.
You'll be back. Just give it a little time. But basically, back to the treatment centers, like the ones I actually went to, even if I didn't stay sober, and even like the people I've met in AA and throughout my time, like I remember, even though maybe I haven't been sober except this last 5 years, but like I still remember the people that made an impact in my life. You know,
Pieces of
The-
it's
yeah.
almost like in my mind and as a parent and going through the journey, I feel like, you know, I always started this puzzle and I get the corner pieces and then watch my son, and it's like, oh, now we have maybe some side pieces, but we don't have shit in the middle, you know, and then, oh, now we gotta throw away the corners and start all over
Well,
again.
your middle, the middle is individual responsibility.
I get it now, but you know, when you are, as a parent, when
Yeah.
all of this kind of starts in the beginning too, and your child is freaking out and doing all of those things and just off on drugs, even as a parent, you don't even know how to put the puzzle together either. So for me, I think I was struggling at the time, but the reason that the question came up about the treatment in my mind was because I hear about all this money that people are talking about. We need to invest in more treatments and this and that, but I just want to know, let's invest in something, and if it's going to be a treatment, fine, but if you're going to invest in it, I want to know what are we really investing in out there that's going to help our communities like Art is talking about. If it means that we're going to clean up our streets and our communities because then we can open a treatment that's actually going to be successful, and give guidance to the addict themselves to want to clean themselves up. I just don't want all that money to be all these little treatment centers, like, you know, like they're all little mini casinos that only, you know, help you once in a while. If you don't win, you move on.
There's a true gambler right there. He's in the little.
I mean, I honestly think like we're lacking in sober livings and
That's what we
places
are.
after
What I experienced
treatment.
recently, and the reason too that I really thought about it was, is I experienced a family that, you know, had an addict, and I have a little bit of experience in it, I guess I can say. But then also I know another family that has a child, a complete genius, can make themselves hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're that smart, but because they're that smart and in their own bubble and don't have a good outside communicable, get along with people kind of thing, because they're just in this little area. Now you've got an addict and you've got a person that's struggling mentally. And what I'm seeing is they've combined them all into the same place. So if you want help, now you've got to show up as a person that's mentally challenged or needs some help. And you've got to fight to try to get ahead of the addict. And there's all these addicts lined up just for that night in the bed, and now they don't have any beds. And they try to combine it together to see who they're really going to help, and they're shutting doors. And I just want to know, what are these places that we need if they're gonna ever, you know, put them together and open them up?
Well,
That can really be there
real
to help
fast.
that
So let me back up, because there were times, yes, I mainly went to the hospital or psych wards to get out of the cold, but like most of the time, people want to get sober, and want to go to rehab, and then they just can't. They just leave. You know, like
Yeah.
it's not like they don't want to. Like, you know, the people I talk to out on the street, like they're actively like wanting to be sober. It's just.
Let me tell you a story about Travis Bailey.
Tell me.
Quick, and then we're running over. But Travis Bailey comes to me, and for about 4 summers straight, he'd show up he'd usually show up, he'd take the summer off, and he'd go out and get high for the summer because it was warm, and he would go to the streets of Seattle because it was nice. And every summer he'd take it off, and he'd come back around September or October and expect it to get cold, and he would come back, and I'd always let him back. And this was probably summer 4 of his annual revisit. And I'd do a group, and Travis is in the group, and I pour my heart out into this group. I give him everything I got. I'm teaching, I'm on fire. I just, you know, lay it out there, pour my heart. After the group, Travis says, "Almost, Art."
Yeah.
He said, "You almost got it down. I'll be back next summer." You see what I'm saying?
Oh gosh, yeah.
So there again, with that analogy, what I'm telling you is, that's the kind of irony of it. That's the kind of that he was showing me, was that's what people were doing. They were blaming the treatment centers because they just weren't ready, and you know, and he just said, if I cultivate a better message, then I could keep him sober. And, you know, for me it felt kind of good, because I'm like, oh, we're kind of Travis, I'll get you next summer. You know? I'm glad you're almost there, buddy. But again, it ain't the message, it ain't that. I mean, the message is good when you're ready, and you know, I'll say it again, we need to keep the onus back on where it belongs. And it used to be that.
Really quickly, so you're a parent a couple times over. If your kid comes to you, or you see evidence of Drake, for example, like getting into drugs or getting into alcohol, things like that, how are you going to share? Do you share your experience, or how do you help him not do that or go down that path?
Well, with Drake, I have a different relationship with Drake than I probably will with my little ones.
Yeah.
He knows way too much that he shouldn't. So, like, you know, I'm like, don't take a pill. It's probably fentanyl, you know, like, and I know he drinks and smokes weed, but like, I worry about that with Bjorn. Like, I don't want to tell them what I was like, but I don't, you know, I don't know. I don't know.
Can we call Art and Anthony, set up a consultation?
Yeah, I'll literally let someone who is not right there,
Oh, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I don't know,
You're a
I
monthly
mean,
partner. We'll do it for free. Okay, one more.
You mentioned mental health, that you've been in and out of like psych wards and stuff. Do you think that led you, made it worse, made it better? What helped you in that?
what was before addiction or mental health?
Or did
like-
it, like, was there something in that you received for mental health that?
Yeah, I mean, I still see a psychiatrist, only like once every 6 months. But I have done I would see my psychiatrist once a week and my mental health therapist. I don't know what they call it nowadays, but I went to a counselor every week, and then I did AA. I was with our Battlefield. Like, I still take medication but it's 2 medications instead of 8.
Not
And
narcotics either.
they're not narcotics or stimulants. They're not it's not an antipsychotic. I think I did so much damage to my brain that I might need to be on them forever, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But yeah, I think every single thing you can possibly do to get yourself better, you might as well do it. Like, you might as well do it.
That's good.
Literally, like anything that's free. That's like dude, there's so many coaches on the internet. Like, I keep getting robbed of like real estate, like money for like, oh, we'll coach you to get this, and like spent so much money. I'm like, this. I'm such a sucker. But you know what I mean? There's so many free things out there, like counseling. I don't know. I highly recommend all of it to everyone.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming. Emily, you're beautiful. You're beautiful. Hearing it was beautiful. And I'm sure everyone agrees. So.
You forgot something.
Yeah.
She is also a very good real estate agent.
Yeah. Well, have you seen her on the? She also does the ropes.
Silks.
Silks. She does the silks.
The aerial silks.
Yeah.
I dabble.
And she's
on the
also
side.
only partner.
Yeah.
I'm also really into crystals. No, I switch it up. There was a point where I bought all the crystals to get better. Like literally anything.
You've got